Little by little, Brown is led deeper and deeper into the forest. He knows he shouldn't go. He keeps saying he's not going to go any further, and yet he's led on and on, deeper and deeper into the forest. There's a good metaphor here, of course, and I think this is part of what Hawthorne's trying to convey to us in the story, that often we are led incrementally further and further into doing something we should not do, knowing full well we should not do it, but somehow we keep being led along. We keep being pulled along by something, the devil himself in the case of young Goodman Brown, even though we may admit fully to ourselves and others that we should not be doing it. Still, for whatever reason, we keep going further and further into the forest. The devil says he knows Brown's ancestors. Well, there's an interesting side to this, depending on your view of the Puritans. The devil mentions here that he helped his ancestors lash Quakers and set fire to Indian villages, not things that we would normally associate with Christianity as a religion of love, of course. But these things did indeed happen, and were not all that unusual because the Puritans were not very tolerant of other faiths. So that you may view that as you wish. Consider the source here, the devil telling him something. We know the devil to be the father of lies, so perhaps he's lying about all of this that we get from him to begin with. Or perhaps if you feel that the Puritans were really off in their theology, that maybe they weren't doing things that were considered consistent with Christianity, and perhaps the devil did have some hand in it. So that can certainly be viewed in either way. But he does indeed say that he's well acquainted with many in New England, but again, consider the source here. I don't know how much we can put stock in what the devil tells us, even in a story like this. As Brown goes on, he sees several people that he knows as they go deeper and deeper into the forest. Goody Cloyce is one of the first people they meet. This is a woman who taught him his catechism, he says, and he's very surprised to see her here. This is something like we'd think of today as a Sunday school teacher. And yet, what's this old lady doing out in the forest in the middle of the night? And of course, when the devil touches her, she says and exclaims, "The devil!" And he replies, "So you know me?" So Goody Cloyce knows her old friend. We sometimes say something like that in an exclamatory manner when we're surprised, but in this case, the devil points out that it's not only a point of exclamation, it's literally true. So again, we get some affirmation here that he is meant to be seen as the devil in this story. And Goody Cloyce recognizes him as the devil when she does indeed meet him on the trail. So she's going to this meeting also. A little further on, our young Goodman Brown sees the minister and the deacon in the forest riding their horses. They're on the way to the meeting. Again, he's very surprised to see them there, and has no explanation for what these good Christian folks would be doing out in the forest in the middle of the night. So he's very confused by all of this and really doesn't know what to make of it. A little bit later on, he thinks he hears the voice of his wife, Faith, being somehow transported above him. And of course, we get the little floating down of a pink ribbon, and we're told at the beginning of the story she had a pink ribbon in her hair. So we're to believe here then that his wife, Faith, is being transported supernaturally somehow to this meeting through the air. And at this point, he says something like, "My faith is gone." Well, again, it has that double meaning. If this is indeed his wife being transported away, then she is gone. But this is also a turning point for him, where up until this point, he has been at least somewhat hesitant and recognizing that he shouldn't be doing this, even though he keeps going forward. And at this point, he seems to abandon any sort of hesitation and goes forward with a will and decides that his faith is gone. I'm going to go ahead and go through with this no matter what. As they actually get to the meeting, he looks at the crowd. And notice what we have here at the crowd. It's quite interesting that we have a crowd of all sorts of people. We have the people he thought of as being bad people, but we also have the people he thought of as being good people. And they're all on very good terms with each other, which is quite surprising to him. He thinks that the good people should not be associating with the bad people, but they all seem to know each other. They all seem to be very friendly with each other, and they all seem to know where they are at a devil's meeting here. So again, we get this idea here that there's been something going on in life, a secret sin, if you will, and this is a common theme that comes up in many of Hawthorne's stories, that perhaps these good people have not been so good as he thought they were all along. But as they get to the devil's meeting, He's brought up before this great fire. His wife is also, Faith, is brought up in a veil. And they stand before the devil, ready to become baptized into this devil's worship. Just before that happens, however, though, notice what young Goodman Brown does. Just before he's about to be baptized and taken in, he says to resist. If you remember your Bible just a little bit, you remember this verse that says, resist the wicked one and he will flee from you. Well, as soon as Goodman Brown says to resist, he wakes up and everything is gone. The meeting is gone, all the people are gone, the fire is gone, he's not even in the same place anymore. It's as if he has just awoken from a dream. And in fact, Hawthorne leaves it with us like this. Is this just something that he dreamed altogether? Or is this the reality that happened, and now it appears to be as a dream to him? And he leaves that question to us. But the more important answer to that is that even if this was a dream, even if young Goodman Brown did, in fact, not really experience it, but only dreamed it, what effect did it have on him? And you see at the ending of the story that the effect of this is that young Goodman Brown seems to have lost all his faith in humanity. He no longer can look at anyone, even his wife, the minister, the church congregation. He can't see any of them anymore without seeing them at that devil's congregation in the forest. And so he doesn't know anymore if they're really Christians or if they're these people with this hidden devil's pact that they're really living with, and they only appear to be Christians outwardly. And this changes him for the rest of his life. He's never able to go back and be a happy person that he once was, because he has in fact lost his faith. Even in this case, if it's faith in humanity rather than his Christian faith, it has made him a miserable man for the rest of his life.